President Trump has been in the news over the G7 summit this week. But after a very public tiff with a couple of the world leaders there, he's decided to leave early and wisely missed the climate change and environment segment of the event. I applaud the president for doing so. Not only would he have been bored to tears by fake science, it also sends a message to the other leaders of the summit that if they don't treat the U.S. president with respect, he's not afraid to walk out. That's called having a spine. The Group of Seven is composed of the 7 biggest and most powerful economies in the world. It was the G8 until Russia was kicked out 4 years ago for invading Ukraine. They are meeting this weekend in a remote part of Quebec, Canada. The 7 nations involved are the United States, England, Germany, France, Italy, Japan, and Canada. Items to be discussed on the agenda include trade, economic growth, international security, and the environment. Trump made the decision to leave a few hours early and instead left an aide to take his place at the climate change talks. That made a statement big time. President Trump, French President Emmanuel Macron, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau got into a somewhat heated exchange concerning trade tariffs. Our allies have been in a tizzy ever since the White House announced a slew of aluminum and steel tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and the European Union. Threats have been flying back and forth all week, and President Trump has stood his ground. He wants fair trade for the United States, where we aren't taken advantage of. Emphasis on fair here. The president has long argued that the U.S. is victim to unfair trade deals with many countries. The American president may not mind being isolated, but neither do we mind signing a 6-country agreement if need be. Because these 6 countries represent values, they represent an economic market which has the weight of history behind it, and which is now a true international force. https://t Co-UA86 Jazzes, Emmanuel Macron, at Emmanuel Macron, June 7, 2018 trending, major actor just called for Trump to be eradicated by any means, finds out he's not above the law. There was a very terse call between Trump and Trudeau on May 25 over all of this. When the Canadian leader asked how Trump could justify tariffs as a national security problem, Trump reportedly responded by asking, "Didn't you guys burn down the White House?" That's funny, although I doubt Trudeau was laughing at the time. It was a reference to the War of 1812. However, it was the British that burned down the White House, not the Canadians. Still funny though. Macron even had the nerve to suggest that the G7 meet without the United States. I've got news for these leaders, you wouldn't even be the G7 without the US. Then a Twitter war of words escalated. President Trump went on to call Trudeau, who is hosting the G7 this weekend, indignant. Things got so tense that Trump was waffling on whether to go at all, since the leaders seemed intent on ganging up on him. However, White House aides encouraged him to go and make his case for U.S. tariffs, which he is doing. Make no mistake though, President Trump is putting his foot down and telling the G7 that tariffs will be addressed. And if the other world leaders don't like it, too freaking bad. In fact, Trump really drove home tariffs at the summit, and the other leaders got all bent out of shape over it. That is why Trump decided to leave early. In an extraordinary exchange between the leaders on Friday, Trump repeated a list of grievances about U.S. trade, mainly with the European Union and Canada, a French presidency official told reporters. And so began a long litany of recriminations, somewhat bitter reports, that the United States was treated unfairly, that the trading system was totally unfavorable to the United States, the American economy, American workers, the middle class, the official said. And it is and has been that way for far too long. In short, a long, frank rant which is undoubtedly very unusual in this kind of formats, the official added. French President Emmanuel Macron responded in a courteous but very firm tone to present the European side of the story, and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe chimed in as well, the official said. The United States and the European Union will establish a dialogue on trade within the next 2 weeks, signaling a modest step forward for the bitterly divided allies of the G7. And you can thank the strength and determination of President Trump for this. He didn't budge an inch when it came to the best interests of America. The leaders worked late into the night on Friday at the luxurious and tightly secured Riverside Hotel, where the summit is being held, with the White House tweeting a photo showing the leaders huddled around a coffee table at 11:20 p.m. Eastern Time, looking at what appeared to be a draft document marked up with highlighter. German Chancellor Angela Merkel sat between Macron and Trump on a sofa, while Trudeau sat to the left of the U.S. president. I find it amusing that no matter where President Trump goes, he winds up being the leader and the center of attention. The early exit also means Trump will be gone before allies begin closing news conferences likely to be laden with criticism of the U.S.'s stance on trade and Trump's abrupt suggestion on Friday that Russia be readmitted to the elite grouping. That really upset everyone. Of course, the media pounced on it, but in truth, the reason Trump is saying it is that Russia is one of the most powerful nations on earth. Trump always has a reason for what he does, and you may not always agree with it, but he never ceases to keep all these leaders on their toes and off balance. It's fun to watch. Please tell Prime Minister Trudeau and President Macron that they are charging the U.S. massive tariffs and create non-monetary barriers. The EU trade surplus with the U.S. is $151 billion, and Canada keeps our farmers and others out. Look forward to seeing them tomorrow.